The father was just sweeping up garbage, but he didn't realize he was sweeping his children, who had shrunk to 1/100th their size, directly into the trash can. The father, being a scientist, was completely unaware. Earlier, the children had accidentally been shrunk to 1/100th their size by their father's invention. A nail they could easily handle before was now as thick as a telephone pole. Even the dogs barking made them cover their ears. Then their father came in and accidentally swept them into the trash can. After they finally escaped from the garbage bag, they saw a dense, deep jungle before them. The tiny leaves that were once small now appeared wide and long to them. They could even use them as slides. Even the sandwich cookies they used to feed ants in the grass had become enormous. Just scraping off a bit of cream would be enough to feed them for a whole day. The group then headed toward home, but they hadn't gone 2 steps when a wide river blocked their path. A strong smell of urine hit them. They instantly realized this river was probably a puddle of dog pee. Seeing a drowned bee floating by, none of them dared to enter the water. The only option now was to seek help from the dog. They all agreed and immediately began climbing up from the roots and stems of flowers and grass. But the little brother slipped and fell directly into the flower's stamen. The pollen on his body attracted a bee's attention. To protect his brother, the older brother also jumped down. Because the bee was so enormous, both boys ended up hanging from the bee. The bee crashed around everywhere trying to shake them off. At this point, the father saw the sofa that had been shrunk by 100 times. Only then did he realize the children might have been shrunk too. To avoid stepping on and killing the children, the father walked on stilts with binoculars, conducting a carpet search of the lawn, but he accidentally pulled the water valve switch. The next second, the children in the grass encountered raindrops the size of cannonballs. After they barely dodged the raindrops, they encountered a giant ant. Fortunately, the ant didn't harm the little friends. This was because they often fed the ants. The helpless children shivered from cold in the deep night. The older brother suddenly remembered the building blocks nearby. They could hide in the blocks and barely spend the night. But unexpectedly, a poisonous scorpion appeared there. It launched a fierce attack on the group. At the critical moment, the ant fearlessly stood in front of the children. Although the children survived, the ant was killed. Meanwhile, the couple continued their carpet search for the children. The next day, they heard thunderous roaring overhead. It was the neighbor kid playing with an electric weed trimmer. Those sharp rotating blades could easily slice off scalps. The terrified group quickly hid in the ant hole. Seeing this, the father quickly stopped the kid, but the trimmer's powerful suction pulled them all out. Luckily, they were blown right in front of their parents. Even though they shouted loudly, their parents couldn't hear them. Watching their parents walk away, the children fell into despair again. Then the family dog, with its keen sense of smell, finally found its little owners. The group grabbed onto the dog's fur and were finally brought back to the room. The dog jumped directly onto the father's dining table, trying to get his attention, but it accidentally flung the boy into the father's bowl. The boy, who couldn't swim, was about to drown in the bowl full of milk. At that moment, the father suddenly scooped up his son soaking in the milk with a spoon and was about to put him in his mouth. At the critical moment, the dog bit the father's ankle. The father looked closely and finally discovered his son in the spoon. Eventually, the father used a magnifying device to return all the children to their normal size.